What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Cocteau Twins, and we're here to conclude the 1986 album Victorialand. Once again, big shout out to Mr. Solo, and there's been a few people who've commented on the next step in the journey. I think it's an EP. In the moment, as I sit here, I don't recall what it is, but in the umbrella folder Mr. Solo has shared, there's like 30 subfolders, so I'm sure it's in there, and that's what we'll do next. But before we get there, we are up to the concluding song on this 1986 album, one which I have found very compelling, even by the standards of Cocteau Twins, where I've been fascinated by their music because it's artistic and ethereal and just completely unlike any other group I'm going through. But yes, even by that standard, this album has been very compelling to me and quite a journey, an experience. And yes, when I do go through these reactions, I do them spread out by weeks and months. But once I complete an album, then sometimes I'll bring it into my car, or I'll just listen to it as I sit and work on emails or whatever. And I will listen to an album in its entirety, and I've been doing that for the Cocteau Twins releases. So make no mistake, or do not fret about that. In any case, the final track, make sure I have the title right. Yeah, The Thinner the Air, which sounds like a conditional. It sounds like the first part of some expression, the thinner the air, then the something else. So I do wonder what the conditional might be. Of course, we may not get a direct answer to that. Ultimately, their songs sometimes have discrete lyrics in English, although many of them do not feature that. And even when there are phrases in the English language, they don't necessarily do a full scene painting. The music often does as much of that. And of course, Fraser's vocals do that not even using formal sentences and discrete narratives as we would normally understand them. So again, I don't necessarily expect an answer to that query. At the same time, the idea of thin air, high elevation, a lower oxygen content, and thus a place where you, at least if you don't already live there, meaning there are communities that live at high elevation and, over generations, there is a certain degree of their physiology that begins to be shaped by that environment. But again, for most people, you cannot be up there for too long without having health risks or otherwise becoming not of, what's the right word, like a stable cognitive mindset. So I do wonder if there'll be a bit of that delirium or less than normal mental experience that'll be conveyed by the sonics. Let's give it a listen. This is Cocteau Twins. The song is The Thinner the Air, and it's the final track on their 1986 album Victorialand. Stunning. A contender for my favorite track on the album. It was shorter. That's like 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Okay, a little bit more than 3, but not much. So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, on the shorter end anyway. But okay, number one, the atmosphere. It is a bit dreamy, a bit mysterious. I don't know about delirious, but definitely it's one where there feels a bit of mystery to it. Elizabeth Fraser's vocals here are a bit more operatic than on some tracks. And number one, they are almost more entirely in the background. They're not, I mean, I guess it's fair to say they're always part of the sonic tapestry. It's not like, there's a cappella songs or where it's like she's right front and center and there's no intriguing or dreamy or hazy sonics around her vocals. But this one, it really felt like her vocals were sort of in the background as this ethereal, operatic type of atmosphere, and that sort of leading rhythmic sequence, which I don't want to do mouth sounds to try to recreate it, but it felt like it was essentially this cycling chord and melodic note, and then there were these other chords that were not arrhythmic, but they came in at different junctures and they weren't cycling in the same way. But yeah, it definitely felt almost like, maybe not medieval, not like Dead Can Dance, although I suppose it's fair to say this reminded me more of a Dead Can Dance tune than any of the Cocteau Twins tracks I've heard. And admittedly, I've heard more Cocteau Twins than Dead Can Dance, so that I don't know if it's an apt comparison. But again, it had a bit of this like mystical Middle Ages feel to it more than other tracks of theirs I can think of, where I feel more like I'm in a dream or in some like shiny sunshine like haze. But yes, definitely it felt like we were in rarefied air, but definitely we did not get a formal, or at least not that I can discern, a formal scene painting set of lines. So either way, another very atmospheric and beautiful track with lovely vocals from Miss Fraser, and at the same time, one that felt a bit different than some of the other tracks on the album and in their larger catalog. So a really intriguing and lovely capstone to the album. As I said, as I sit here, I don't remember what the next EP is, but I know it's been mentioned, so I'll just go back and look at comments or people can mention it again here. Thank you again to Mr. Solo and to Doug, who did provide the LP that we went through, Treasures, right? So, or Treasure. Nevertheless, I look forward to future Cocteau Twins chapters in this larger journey, so let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.